Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. I'm getting ready to start a new series, and well, I'm going to do a palette tour 2020 because it's been a couple years since I did my original palette tour, and of course I have much more paint than that now. So I'm going to do a revised palette tour for 2020. So this is going to be a long tour because I have lots of paints and lots of palettes. But also, I decided not to go in depth too much into my palettes, just kind of go through, this is what I have, and then I'll do more in-depth tour and color swatching of each palette, and then kind of comparison of the palettes, just in case, like me, you were interested in purchasing some watercolors because you found out you were crazy about them and you didn't want to spend too much money. So this is a Kuretake Gonzi Gansai Tanbai. That's what I think it was. I don't know how it's pronounced, but I think I paid around, I think I paid around $25 for this on Amazon, and it's quite the bargain. I would recommend this to anybody. The reason I continued and didn't stick with this as my had to keep buying more one of them was it doesn't have pigment information, so I didn't know if they were light fast. But I've done so many light fast tests on this palette that I can tell you that these colors are definitely light fast, and they're just beautiful, right? Just look how pretty those colors are. Okay, so that being said, this palette is giant, enormous. Look at my hand there. And then, so there's a palette. There's my giant water container, right? You can see kind of a scale thing there. It takes up so much space on my table, and I have a huge table, but I did not want this giant palette, so that's why I did not use it that much. So what I ended up doing was modifying this palette, and it was not as easy as you might think by the fact that I'm telling you I did this. It's crazy. What I ended up having to do was to soak, get the colors wet and soak them and then scrape them. And it was just a big, colossal pain in the ass. But in the end, I moved I think the majority of these colors into a different palette. I'm going to grab it. That's smaller. Okay. So yeah, not so easy getting them in here, but now I use them quite a bit more than I did before, and just look how gorgeous those colors are. I think that I fit all of the colors. There's 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 36 colors. So let me see, 1, 2, 3. Oh yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, this was a 24 color palette. So obviously I didn't get all of these colors in here. What I left out was all these along the bottom row. I have another palette of those. And it's a small palette. I just didn't, I had to narrow 36 down to 24. So that's what happened here. So that's this giant palette. I moved it over to this little palette. I also added a few more colors in there, and a paintbrush fits in here, and it's just easier for me to work with and enjoy the paints that way. But it was hella difficult to get this because these paints are, they're made with, okay, sorry, I'm not going to be able to get this for you because my brain fades. But it's not made with like your traditional Western watercolor paints are made with okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to edit that out. I apologize, words just leave me. So they're made with a different binder, which right now as I'm doing this video I cannot get the words, so that's what happens as you get older. Thanks. But anyway, so that's that one, and I'll do a more in-depth review of this palette when I do one for the Kuretake Gonzi. Lovely paints. They are all water fast. It does not give pigment information. And my most favorite color of all time is the Carmine from this palette. It's just gorgeous. It's my favorite Carmine. It's my favorite color. watercolor of all time. And I just love these colors. They're beautiful. Okay, so that's palette number 1 I'm going to show you. This custom 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 37 color Schminky palette. They had a sale on Schminky at Jackson Art, and so I just went for it, and I bought initially, I don't even know, I think these colors initially, which was less, 32 colors. Yeah, the 32 colors and the palettes cost me $205, which is pretty expensive, right? But it's Schminky, right? So why I went crazy and did all that was, A, they were on sale, but B, they're such a pleasure to work with. I don't know what the deal is. But I put this palette together myself. These are all colors I chose for specific reasons, which when I do the more in-depth tour of this palette, I will go into the reasons I purchased those colors. And there's some colors I don't like, and I have some thoughts on that, and I have been writing them down in anticipation of doing a palette video on this palette. One thing that I learned real quick was, ended up buying earth tones, but at first I didn't have earth tones, and I use earth tones for my skin tones and, you know, hair and all kinds of stuff that I didn't think I did. So I ended up putting together like little recipes for skin tones, little recipes for hair color, and recipes for some earth tone mixes, because I was having to mix those on my own. And that just sits in there. And that is my custom Schminky palette, which does have a few other brands. I just couldn't bring myself to buy another Dioxanide Purple PV23 when I have so many in different brands. Like, I don't need, you know, it's the same no matter what brand. So that's in there, and it's just an old one at Graham. I also at the same time had picked up this Jackson's Cobalt Violet Light Hue, because when I was checking out, it says maybe you'd be interested in, it was on sale for $3, so I bought it, and I actually really like it, and Afton really likes it too. Yeah, so that is my Schminky palette, and you can look forward to a more in-depth review of that palette coming soon. Okay, so the next palette I'm going to show you is my St. Petersburg White Nights palette. Okay, so this palette came in initially, I initially purchased this palette. It's a 36 palette, and it came in this custom palette that comes with it, and I've seen Winsor & Newton has one, and anyway, this palette sucks. That's all I'm going to say. It sucks. It seems okay here. Like, you can, you know, put this here for additional mixing, and you can see you can fit quite a few paints in there, but it sucks because there's nothing, like, doesn't snap in there. So when you go to get your paints, they're constantly rolling around. So I use this to store like extra paints that they just don't fit in a palette. But, you know, I'm not willing to throw them away because they're all professional quality and I did pay money for them. They just came out of different palettes. I revised my palettes and have extra paints left over. So that's what I store in there now. But I bought another beading tin because these tins are, oh, they're less than $20 and they're really nice. I prefer them. They did have a flap that came down, so it was like this. But again, I use a ceramic plate to do as my palette to mix on, so I didn't really need this third thing, and it just takes up so much room that I wasn't using. So again, I like to do like my favorite mixes and store that in there. And yeah, so I think I have almost every single color that White Nights makes because they're so inexpensive. And I had started with the 36 and then I added, and you know, some of these colors are not light fast. I don't think I have the ones that aren't light fast in here though, because I sell my work, and so I don't want to have to be worried about if I use this color, is it light fast? No, all of these I believe are light fast. I think. No, Blue Lake's not. Okay, so I lied. Sorry. So anyway, I've moved all my white nights, and I'll do more in-depth review of these paints and colors when I get to this palette. I do use it and I love it, but it is currently for sale because I want to get the Core 24 palette, and these are my least favorite of my professional brand paint. Okay, next up I have, and I'm just grabbing things out of my box over here behind me. I had them all on the table and it was too much. I have way too much. Okay, so the next palette I have, my son Brad bought this Core high chroma. This is what hooked me on Core and why I need the 24 color one for my birthday. So those are the colors, and I don't use this palette. It just goes in the closet with my spare paints, because I had put them into this palette as my Core palette, and why, I don't know why I do the things I do, but as I've run out of Core colors, I've had to steal from here, and so I am going to be revising this and reusing this. This was my first St. Petersburg White Nights purchase. It was a 12 color, and I enjoyed it so much I bought all of the colors. So I'm going to revise this to make it my new 12 color. I'm going to put all these either in this palette that I just showed you or my main palette if the colors are in there. That's Core, the 6 high chroma. I don't know. Eventually I will do the 24 palette review for you, but I don't have it yet, so that will not be today. Okay, so what's up next? Okay, yes, I have so many palettes. It's crazy. Okay, so next I'm going to show you my, I don't know how to pronounce that, Crayon Dash, whatever. This is my Neo Color. These are water soluble crayons. They're just fun. I'll do a little review of that sometime. And so that's that. Then the next palette I have is a Winsor & Newton 24 color professional, not the Cotman. I'm never going to buy Cotman. That's just, they're so expensive for student quality, no thanks. But this is a professional color 24 color sketchbook. Yeah, like I did not need this. I wouldn't even have bought this because the few Winsor & Newton watercolors, I love their designer gouache, but their watercolors that I purchased I haven't been that impressed with. The reason that I bought it was it's normally very hella expensive, and it was on sale for $62 at Jackson Art. I think it's like, I don't know, I think I'll have to look it up, but I think it's around 180. So anyway, yeah, I had to buy it, right? Because I needed more colors. But I will tell you that some of the Winsor & Newtons are just flat out my favorite. And like, I love their yellow ochre, and I can't remember right now, but I'll go over that when I do the palette tour. And I have this little swatch card that's set up to do some mixes, but I haven't done them yet. I like to keep those in my palettes. Okay, so that's my Winsor & Newton, and I'll do another. And okay, so one thing I know for sure is my setup. I have it on my table, and I'm bumping my table, and I apologize for that. That's what's going on there. Okay, so another palette I have is the Holbein Gouache, the 18 color, because I love gouache, and the Winsor & Newton designer gouache is hella expensive. So I wanted to try a different brand. I've heard good things about this, but I will say that the Winsor & Newton is still my favorite, and it's just the best, and it's worth the extra money. And so I do have that in a palette. I'm looking for it right now. So that's my palette that I've put those colors into. But the thing about, you know, it doesn't like that. It likes to be fresh paint. I don't like to waste my paint like that. This palette, I would say, is much better fresh, rather than like this, where you re-wet the palette. I don't have that issue with the, I might as well show you my Winsor & Newton designer gouache palette. And that is right here. It's wet because I was just going to do a painting, and then I decided to do this instead. Because I wanted to clean up my desk, and I pulled out these palettes for this video. So the colors that I have in the Winsor & Newton designer gouache came in this little kit. I think it was like $25. And it's 6 full-size tubes. And then I've added to it another gouache, white gouache that somebody had given me. So I have permanent white, zinc white. I purchased the cobalt turquoise because that's one of my favorite colors in watercolor, and I wanted it. So, you know, it just makes these fabulous greens. I mixed all these from the 6 colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess I got 8 colors. And so I kind of did the intermediates. Here's what, I'll do a more in-depth review of this palette when I get there, but just so you know, the primary red, which is absolutely gorgeous, one of my very favorite colors, is not light fast, and neither is the rose Tyrian. So I really need to replace those 2 colors, and then the palette will be fine. But I'm not crazy about having these colors that are not light fast. I have done a painting with them and it's gorgeous. I love to use these gouache with watercolors. And the paint, I'm going to move this over. The painting is gorgeous, but I'm concerned about obviously it fading, and it does fade rather ugly. The color just, you know, it turns a totally different color that's less attractive and blotchy, and so I don't like it. So I'm going to replace those, but I haven't yet. Those 2 colors. Or else not care, because a lot of artists, they digitize their work and sell prints, and it really doesn't matter if you don't sell the original. So I've kind of rethought that. I'm also, because, yeah, so now I'm going to get the P.H. Martin Radiances for that reason. Okay, so another palette I have is my M. Graham palette. M. Graham is the only professional quality watercolor that is sold locally where I live. So I did have quite a few of those colors. As I was preparing to do these palette and watercolor review videos, I was starting with M. Graham, and I realized that M. Graham sucks. Like, I always had a joke that I had a love-hate relationship with M. Graham, but I sold all my M. Graham. This is all I have left of the M. Graham because they just suck. And when I do that watercolor review of M. Graham and this palette tour, I will explain to you why they suck. And that's that. So you can look forward to that. Okay. And then I have this. This is my very first professional brand. And it was Mission Gold. The 36 color set that came with this palette, which again I don't use because it's hella huge, right? But these are my very favorite watercolors. It's my favorite brand of watercolor, and because they're vibrant. The earth tones, I won't even use really too much of anybody else's earth tones. Their earth tones are the best. A lot of people don't, some artists don't like it. I love them. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And those are my very favorite. What are your favorite colors? Mission Gold are my very favorite. They're vibrant and beautiful, and I love them. And that's what I have most of in my main palette. Okay, now for my main palette. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is my main palette, another medium tin that holds normally 48, but I modify them to hold 63. So this palette has 63 of my very favorite watercolors, right? And these are them. This is my swatch chart. These are 63 of my very favorite watercolors. And this is my main palette that I use pretty much every day. I love it. I love this palette. This has got all my favorite colors from all my different brands. And so the brands that are included in here are Mission Gold, Magello Mission Gold, Daniel Smith, St. Petersburg White Knights, you know, not a lot, but my favorite colors. Core, all the high chroma colors, but when I get my new 24 set, I have another one of these that's just brand new and hasn't been used, and I'm going to set it up in there and redo my palette. I redo this palette probably 2 to 3 times a year, which is a lot, right? But because I get new colors and I want them in there, and then that necessitates redoing of the palette. Let's see what else is in there. Schminky. I only have 2 of the Gonzai Tombai colors. The Carmine I can't do without. That's in there. And then also a Cobalt Violet, which is gorgeous. Because I don't know, I felt like I didn't have enough violets, right? But now I've got quite the beautiful selection. That's the Gonzai Tombai. And look at it. It's the most beautiful violet. So that's the 2 of those that are in there. And then, what else do I have? Well, I don't even know what else there is. That's what's in there. My main palette, which I will do a swatch and tell you what's in there and why it's in there and all about my thoughts on those watercolors. So I feel like I'm pretty well qualified to tell you the differences in the different brands and why I like one brand over another, because I actually have all those brands. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you because I do a YouTube channel. Therefore, I have to have all these colors. Nobody needs this much watercolor. Nobody. But I don't drink. I don't smoke. This is what I spend my money on. And it's not that expensive when you compare it to cigarettes and alcohol. Okay. So now I'm going to get into some lesser brands, because I am going to actually do a little tour on them. I've got this little 42, I don't know, you might have seen these and thought about them. So that's why I'm including them, because people might be interested, right? So talk about that in one of my videos. I'm going to do a tour of that. Then this is the Pelican brand. It's kind of, I'm not sure if it's gouache. It says it's watercolor, but I think it's more like a gouache. And my granddaughter really likes this palette. It's her palette. But I bought it because I couldn't afford, at the time, the Holbein. But I got the Holbein. These are nice paints, though. And they're non-toxic, so that's important. Although I do give her the toxic stuff. She knows not to stick paint brushes in her mouth. So I'll be doing that review when I get there. Okay, this is the Kiritaki Gonzai Starry Night palette. It's just got 6 colors. This is Afton's other palette. I don't know, I think I paid like 13 bucks or something for it. It's got nice vibrant colors, so I might do a review for you. You can see the colors are pretty vibrant. And yeah, I think I've showed you most of what I'm going to do my watercolor reviews on these different palettes. Oh, I have another palette coming that's crayon. I'll put a picture of it. It's just been on my list and I got some money, so I bought it. And maybe I'll do it next week. So we'll do a review on it, and then I'll show you this palette, but this isn't actually it. Yes. So I buy these palettes. I will do a review on these too. This is crazy. Art Advantage. These are less than $10. They're like $5. They're so great, right? Because it's got the primaries, and I buy this for folks that are new to watercolor, because this is how I got started. I just bought this for $5 and a cheap old brush, and then because I thought, I don't want to spend much money if I don't love this, right? And I fell in love, and so, but I still recommend this to folks to try it out. It's an expensive way to get into some watercolor. Basically for less than $15. You can get this, a paintbrush, and some, this is what I teach my students, and some Canson XL watercolor paper at Walmart for $5. And for less than $15, you can check out watercolor and see if you enjoy it as much as I do. Anyway, thanks for watching my watercolor palette tour for 2020. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I start doing my watercolor reviews, or I'll review all these brands and those palettes, and you know, all that stuff supports my art, so I appreciate it a lot. Doesn't cost you anything, but it means a lot in the internet world, and just helping me to reestablish my art career, because although this is fun, this is not actually how I make my money. I don't make my money doing YouTube videos. I make my money selling my art and doing Skillshare classes. So take a class that supports my art. If you like and subscribe, that just supports everything because it's all about social media in 2020. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Bye.